So, Premier Smith, before we get into the news that you've been creating this week, you just came off the First Minister's meeting. What was that like? What was the message from Prime Minister Carney about the meeting in Washington? And did he offer you an olive branch?
Well, I can tell you that the first ministers increasingly are of the same mind that we have to clear away the barriers to be able to do investment. Every single premier has a priority project that has been stymied in some way because of onerous federal regulations. And I think that now we're beginning to see how important it is for us to support each other so we can develop our economy, become that economic powerhouse. And I was really pleased at the tone of the meeting today.
Any particular message coming from Prime Minister Carney after the trip to Washington?
Well, I can tell you that he certainly has set a different tone with the premiers. The fact that he's already had several meetings with us, we have an in-person meeting planned. He's made sure to be in touch with us every time he comes back to give us a bit of an update. I have some sympathy for the press conference that played out in public. I have, as you know, met the president, and I too had to spend more time listening than talking. And then when you get a moment to talk, you've got to put your points in, and I think he did. It sounds to me though like the meeting that went behind closed doors was a little bit longer than expected, went an hour and a half, and it was very cordial. And so I think that the reset is beginning. I mean, all you have to do is look at the video that the White House produced today, and I don't think I've seen that with another world leader that has left the office. So I think that we're well on our way to beginning to repair that relationship, and I think that's positive for the entire country.
Look, I've been upfront on my feelings. I did not vote for the Mark Carney Liberals in this last election. I wrote many columns opposed to their policies, but you have to hope for the benefit of the country. In terms of him coming out of the meeting in Washington, that's one thing, and you hope that that is a good thing. But you've made several recent demands. You know, the industry, the oil and gas industry, put out several demands. None of those were really talked about by Prime Minister Carney during the election. Is there any sense that an olive branch will be forthcoming, could be forthcoming? Because you know, I know some of my colleagues in the Eastern and Central Canadian media want to just tut the idea that Western separatism is something to be mocked or ridiculed. But, you know, I know that it's a reality, and it's disturbing for me. And I know it's disturbing for you. I watched your comments the other day. So, you know, a prime minister's job is to ensure national unity. Has he made any comments, any overtures to you that would make you say, you know what, maybe we can find common ground on something that will lower the temperature on this issue?
What I will say is we've had a conversation, and I'm hoping to have many more, where I put those 9 issues on the table, and he didn't say no to any of them. Didn't say, yes, I'm going to address them all. But the fact that his first reaction was not no says to me that we have some common ground to start on. I've seen Doug Ford very vocally and in public talk about the importance of changing the regulatory process under C-69 so we can get things built. And that applies as much to Ring of Fire mining projects as it does to pipelines. I've been grateful to see that level of support from the chair of our Council of the Federation. And so I think he's getting the message from a number of different voices, not just mine, not just the energy industry, but also other premiers, that this is a rare moment where the nation is united. We realize the threat to our sovereignty that comes from the Americans because we haven't worked as well together in the past. And let's seize this moment to actually act like a nation and support each other. I think that is the very strong sentiment at the First Minister's table, and I think that he's getting that message from a lot of different viewpoints. So I hope that we're able to address some of the 9 issues that I've raised that are crippling investment and confidence in our province, and then we can bring the temperature down on those who are losing hope that Canada can be fixed.
Okay, so I appreciate that you raised Ontario Premier Doug Ford, because I did see some headlines saying he's chastising you. I was standing feet from him yesterday when he talked about, I want a united Canada. And I thought, and some people walked away from that saying, oh, well, he's, taking on Alberta Premier Danielle Smith. And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure I saw her say she wants a united Canada the other day. You're not going to stop a referendum. and you'd be foolish to try to. That would just embolden those who want to break up the country. But I did not see what Premier Ford said as an attack on you so much as a defense of a united country. Am I wrong in my read of that? Because it sounds like from your comments, you're reading it the same way I am. Because in that same quick scrum that he did with the journalist at Queen's Park, where I stood feet from him, he talked about the importance of pipelines going west, going north, and coming from Alberta to the east.
Doug's a friend, and he and I find a lot of common ground when we're talking about the issues that matter to our respective provinces. And look, it's my job as premier to allow my other premiers to know the pressures that we're seeing in Alberta, just as much as Scott Moe was able to have a similar frank conversation. And we think, I think I'll speak for myself, I think it's my job to do what I can to address the legitimate issues that Albertans have so that they can get confidence again, that we can get a deal that's going to be able to benefit us. At the moment, a lot of Albertans are fearful of what a continued Liberal government will do. We've had 10 years of terrible policy that have been designed to try to keep our oil and gas in the ground. And I think the rest of the country is beginning to understand that, but there are some Albertans who've lost hope. I continue to think that there is an opportunity for us to have a reset. And that's what I've been told by my caucus. It's what I've been told by the majority of people contacting my office, is give it a try. I'm going to give it a try. And I hope that we're successful, not only for our sake, but for the sake of the country.
Look, you know my view on this. You're one of many people that have called me an honorary Albertan because I try and understand what's going on. But a lot of people in central and eastern Canada just don't get it. So give me the elevator pitch, the short one. Like, why are people feeling like the country doesn't work for them? Because a lot of people in central and eastern Canada say, well, no, everything's great for me. Why are you so angry? Is it just because your party didn't win? And I tell them, no, that's not it. But I don't think they fully understand what's been happening to Alberta, as everyone's telling Alberta, play on Team Canada, be on Team Canada. But Team Canada has not wanted you to be a player for much of the last decade.
Well, maybe the best way to describe it is for people to examine how scared and fearful they are that Donald Trump will crush their economy. That's how scared and fearful Albertans are that the Liberals will continue to crush our economy.
How?
All of the damage that we have seen over the last 10 years, most of it has come from bad federal policy, coming out of the alliance between the Liberals and the NDs to target our industry and to put in punitive policies that are designed to keep our oil and gas in the ground. Maybe that's the best way to understand the feelings Albertans have right now. No, I'm feeling very hopeful. I think I've said before that I don't know if we've got conservative banker Mark Carney, who is our prime minister, or whether we've got a net zero advisory council to Justin Trudeau. Mark Carney is our prime minister, but I want to see which one that is, and I do think that if we can find a pragmatic path forward, then it's going to work for Canada and it's going to work for Alberta.
I have the same concerns about Prime Minister Carney. I've covered him when he was Bank of Canada governor. I've covered him when he's been a net zero advocate. I'm not sure. And, for now, I think, we give him the benefit of the doubt. We had the election. Everyone fought hard. And let's hope that he looks at things now from a view of what is best for the country as a whole. But, you've got a lot of people saying you've lowered the threshold for a referendum on sovereignty, that you are flirting with the Alberta separatist movement. What do you say to those folks? Again, similar to what you and I discussed when we met in Ottawa at the Canada Strong and Free Conference. You've got people who just want to dismiss you and call you a traitor to the country. Things that they would never say about actual separatists from Quebec, but they want to put these labels on you. It's like we've got two different rules. If you are an actual separatist from Quebec, we'll welcome you. We'll give you a hug. We'll talk about how great you are. But if you are someone from Alberta or Saskatchewan, where separatist sentiment is even higher according to the polling, well then we're just going to mock you and ridicule you. We won't take your issues seriously. What do you say to those folks?
Well, I would say that this is probably the most substantive electoral reform legislation. I think it's over 100 pages long. It's been in the works for a year. And we had heard feedback that if you are going to have a citizen-initiated and recall process, you need to have thresholds that are actually achievable. So that was the intention of bringing it through, is that I haven't...
No, this was not about pushing forward a separatist agenda real quick.
Oh, it's been characterized that way, but these bills take a long time to put together. What I was concerned by is that we haven't even seen any citizen-initiated referenda come forward, and that suggested to me that the thresholds were too high. And so, just in consultation with my caucus, with party, with general citizens, we were intending to bring those down to a level that's a bit more reasonable. They're still higher than California. California has a 5% threshold for policy and an 8% threshold for constitution. We just decided to cut it off at 10% and make it based on the previous number of voters who turned out in the last election. But I mean, that was already in the works and has been for some time. If it turns out that a question of autonomy is the first one that citizens feel is going to be part of the initiative campaign, I guess we'll see. Right now, there are no petitions. There are no active questions. It's just a process that we're in the process of revising as part of an overall bill. But, I recognize that post-election, there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of heat. I would say that anywhere from...
How do you turn that down then? How do you deal with bringing the temperature down? I've heard some people say, Pierre Poilievre deciding to run where he is and Battle Creek Crowfoot, that is a good idea, that could help bring it down, that you could help bring it down. And Scott Moe is making comments in his province to bring it down. How do you bring that down?
Mark Carney has to bring it down. I'm only one part of a two-party deal. If there is no accommodation for the very serious issues that we've raised, if we continue on with just a Trudeau 2.0 series of policies, that's not going to bring the temperature down. If you want to reset, you have to have a reset. I mean, I think we witnessed that with Prime Minister Carney's visit to the White House. That was a very different tone and outcome than his predecessor. He has the ability to do exactly the same thing with Alberta. But I think that there has to be a recognition the issues that we've raised are serious. And I think he's treating them with the seriousness they deserve. But I guess the question will be, can we get a deal? And I hope we do, because I think that is going to be what allows for us to thrive and also for Canada to thrive.
Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, thank you very much for your time. As always, all the best.
Thank you.
We ask people to let us know what you think in the comments below. Drop a comment, share this on social media, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.